Welcome to the Hacking Your Health podcast with Ben Canning and Dave Kennedy. Two guys heading out to hack body, mind, business, and beyond. We are here to provide a single source, bullshit-free guide to understanding your body and how you can live better for longer.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. I'm going to say this, and I thought this earlier. Now, I absolutely loved having Sean on. I love having guests on. But sometimes I miss just having me and you talking. So welcome back.
Welcome back. Yeah, welcome back, man. I was enjoying talking to you as well and getting to catch up. Because it's like, hey, it's like we're catching up as friends, just hanging out and discussing like awesome stuff that we love talking about. So like, what's better than, you know, supplements and protein and whole foods and, you know, lifting weights and everything else, right?
Well, I'm actually off supplements. It's been 3 days.
I know.
I'm still alive, and my whole body's still intact. Somebody actually, so I put up a post on Instagram, just like, this is the picture I sent you of all the supplements, and somebody replied, do you need all these? And I'm like, well, technically I don't need them. Like, I would probably survive pretty well if I didn't have them. So I sort of challenged myself to come off, just to sort of reset myself a little bit. But I've made it 3 days. I've survived, so it's all good. It's all good. What's going on with me?
So, I did the same thing about a month ago where I was like, man, this stuff is getting like way out of control. Like, I think I was taking like 70 pills a day. And like, you know, it's just like you add something like, oh, phosphatic acid, it helps in mTOR production. Oh, this does that. Oh, this does that. Oh, hey, magnesium's good for your thing. Oh, you do this. And you're like, by the end of the day, you're like, man, I'm spending more time, you know, taking pills than I am actually in the gym, you know, doing resistance training. So, you know, and that obviously is too much. It's excessive. So like I did the same thing and I cut down and I went back
but it's even like it's like this, it's just like a serving size, like 6 tablets. And you're like, can not condense this into one fucking tablet? Why'd I have to take 6?
Well, that's the one thing that like, you know, I switched over from On It Total Human to Animal Pack just to try different vitamins. And those Animal Packs, so like you get the regular vitamins and then you get the fish oils and then you get like their Flex and their PM ones. And each one of those packs is like 15 freaking pills. So like you're taking like 10 fish pills, you're taking like 15 multivitamins, and then it's like it's just way too much. So I switched back to On a Total Human, and I put I barely take anything. I take some extra vitamin B complex, and some you know vitamin D, and that's basically about it, and a multivitamin. So for On a Total Human, so it's got my krill oils and you know everything else like that. But I don't notice any difference whatsoever between before and after. So you know who knows.
Well, I mean, honestly, if this had been set up in any other way, if we had had a sponsor and it had been a supplements company, this would be the perfect time to have this conversation. So,
right.
as I said, as I was chatting to you yesterday, the latest competition that we're going to launch, which will be launched by the time that this podcast goes out, is we're going to give away 4 months worth of the Blue Nutrition supplements that I do regularly use. So I was down talking to Peter in NI Supplements yesterday, who's going to come on the podcast in the next couple of weeks to talk about everything that they do, and he is so detailed, passionate, like everything to this is why we put this in, this benefits this is combination with that, and why they do everything. So what he's going to do is put together a We Hack Health stack and do 4-month, 8-month, and 12-month bundles. We're going to give away a 4-month one. I'll put the link to it whenever it goes up. They can get shipped anywhere in the world, but it's exactly the stuff that I use. The superfood greens, vitamin D3, vitamin C, omegas, the pre and probiotic, and creatine, or Creapure it is actually. So that'll all go out. It'll be on Twitter. If you haven't got into the competition, do get on. I'm looking forward to having Peter on. I will be back taking supplements from next Thursday. That will be my 2 weeks up, I think.
I no sponsorship whatsoever from Blue myself, or obviously vice versa, but I really enjoyed their products. Like a lot of really good quality products, taste good, and then you know, overall I've been very happy with them as well. So you got me hooked on Blue a while back, and I use their Creapure and a few other things too. So good stuff from them for sure.
Yeah, it'll be cool. I genuinely, I know that you'll enjoy the science side of having a conversation with Peter. Like he's just so like every single detail of everything. So we'll get him on, and I think that'll be cool. And then the link to anybody who wants to order with whatever the discount code will be. Be good. So anyway. Yeah. Well, I mean, I want to talk about training and stuff first, and we'll talk about the other stuff after. So how's training? What's going on?
So, obviously that new plan has been going great. I just got a new leg extension machine, leg extension / leg curl. I felt like I had the Rogue reverse hyper, the donkey, and it was okay, but I didn't really like it. I didn't feel like I was really hitting my glutes and hammies very much with that. And so, I really felt like I didn't have a good machine other than obviously doing deadlifts and, obviously split squats and belt squats, but I didn't really have a good, hammy type of exercise. And so I got that one, and I used that yesterday for the first time, and I loved it. I feel like it really, especially after you're done doing, I did RDLs yesterday. Sorry, I didn't respond back to your text, by the way, on the weights. I didn't want to tell you.
I was standing in the gym, and I was like, right, I need to know exactly what Dave did in RDLs so I can just do one more rep or 5 pounds more. He just didn't fucking text me back.
I just didn't text you back. I'm like, I'm not gonna have you be. No, actually,
fuck that guy.
So I actually went fairly light on RDLs yesterday, just kind of working on form, because I know that we had some form tweaks that we had last time. So I did started off with 135 pounds, 6 reps, just kind of warm up. Did 225.
You did tell me now. I've already done my set. Okay.
Hang on. Then I did 315 by 10. Then I did 700 by 30. And then I think my max rep was I did 365 by 8, and then I did 275 by 15 just to kind of burn everything out. So it was nothing crazy.
Okay, good. And you find I don't have my book with me. It's in the book's in the car.
Right.
So you find the hamstring curl and the leg extension good. I'm going to update your plan because it will be good the way that I'll program it will be to use the hamstring curl first to load the muscle full of blood so that whenever you go in, it's activated and you can actually use it properly going into doing RDLs and stuff like that. And then we'll do almost the opposite with quads is whenever you sort of fatigue them from everything else that you're doing, just really take them to that point of failure where your legs are shaking and you've got tears in your eyeballs from the
That's how I felt. That's how I felt yesterday.
That'll be the exact rep range. Just as many as possible until you have tears in your eyeballs.
Tears. It was funny. I still have PTSD from installing gym equipment from Rogue, and so I hired an expert installer to come install this. And this thing must have taken him. I mean, it was funny because he was supposed to be here at 3:30, so I'm like, I'll get my workout in really quick so that I don't want to be working out with somebody putting together equipment. It'd be kind of weird. And
just watching
him. Yeah, like hey, and I'm grunting like but the guy showed up an hour early. And I was still in the middle of my work. I'm like, listen, dude, just so you know, I'm going to be working out while you're putting this together. He's like, oh, I don't care. That's fine. I'm like, okay. So I was working out the entire time. It must have taken him 40 minutes to put this thing together. It was super easy. It was like 30 parts. Rogue was like 7,000 parts. It weighs 2 billion pounds where you need 8 people. It was a nightmare. But that's all good. And then my gym at the office is getting built too. And this I got the Force USA G20, which is this monstrosity of an all-in-one. It's got multiple weight systems. It's insane. This thing weighs literally 1,400 pounds. And the way that everything worked out is I couldn't get the flooring in time. So they assembled the G20 on concrete, and we had to get rubber flooring underneath this 1,400 pound monstrosity.
So did you just go to one side and just lift it and they put the floor in on there? Exactly
what we did. I got like 4 guys from TrustedSec to come in, and we basically were able to tilt it enough to get the things in and then tilt it on the other side. It was a disaster. It was a nightmare. But it's there. It's working, and I haven't used it yet because I need to clean the whole area there. But I got a treadmill coming. I got the tonal coming over there, and then probably put a couple other little things here and there.
That's what I was going to ask. So I'm like down the rabbit hole of the home gym is almost complete. I'm like, now we have a whole other fucking space to fill.
Now we have a whole space to fill. Yes. And it's going to be weird because Aaron's going to start to see the rubber tiling start to intrude more out because instead of it being like one location,
it's just the whole basement, the whole downstairs. Like I don't know what happened.
The training center. Listen, the training center is now the gym, and people they want to learn.
That is training. It's like it's just a different type of training. Yeah.
Exactly.
Training their bodies and their minds.
We'll see how that goes, and if I'm still happily married afterwards. But I definitely keep extending the amount of space that I have in that gym to accommodate additional stupid things that I decide to buy.
Good. Oh, I can't wait to.
How about you? How are you doing, dude?
You know what? I'm doing really good. One thing I wanted to talk about is, and I've sort of mentioned this to you in chat over the past couple of days. Obviously, I've said this before that I get into this place where like it's just sort of habit in terms of like eating, which is great. It's great to be in that. You know, I know how food's put together and whatever else. But sometimes there's something very powerful in going back to actually tracking everything and being 100% on it and just sort of recalibrating your, you know, your portion sizes and everything else. And I've done that probably for about the past 7 to 10 days. And I genuinely already feel incredible by just like
awesome.
really dialing things in, making sure I have plenty of veg, cutting out as much shit as possible, just that I don't need, that I was probably just snacking as I was, you know, walking about the house or whatever else, and making sure I over and above protein target. And number one, like I guess the biggest thing for me is actually making sure I'm eating enough calories, because there would have been days that I probably didn't eat throughout the day and I was just catching up. So I've been eating about 3,100, 3,300 calories. So I feel good when I'm going to train. And the message to everybody is just really dial it in and you will feel the benefits of so much. Like I'm more productive, I've got more energy, I can get up in the morning, out do my steps, do my cardio, sessions have been good. Overall, like feeling really fucking good. Just from that sort of small tweak. And no supplements. Like, I mean, I'm legitimately feeling good.
Yeah. Well, that's
so
crazy.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, well, that's the same thing with with me is the regimen around making sure what I put in my body is the amount of calories I have, and that's something I've gotten a lot better at. You know, before I used to tell you this, you know, I go downstairs and I eat a half a box of Wheat Thins or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, there's 500 calories that I didn't count for, you know, but
or you track like 5 Wheat Thins.
Yeah, 5 Wheat Thins, but I ate the whole box, you know, like, you know. But I've been getting a lot better at that. Actually, yesterday was an interesting one because I was so busy with the office stuff, and I didn't eat until like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was like, oh my god, I got to pound like 2,800 calories in a quick amount of time. And so I obviously focused on protein first, hit my protein goals as much as possible. So I got a protein shake, had some steak, and then from there kind of built it up. By the end of the day, I was back up to 240 grams of protein, 300 grams of carbs, and I was good. Everything was all set. So it's you just got to be careful because I forget, like if I'm super busy, I forget to eat. And I know I need to. I'm like, man, I wish I would have brought a protein shake with me or something, but I'm too effing busy to go get one. So, that's the balance of obviously business, work, health, everything else that goes along with that, which is the topic of today.
Honestly, you would think you
like
had
that?
planned this shit, but I
like that intro?
Like straight in.
Oh my god, I went right into that. That was so good. That was so good.
That's why I have this. That's why I'm repping the brand today.
I like it. I like the trusted section right there. Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you know what? It's actually I put it on after whenever I got out of the shower, and I was like, this would be nice to train in. I feel like it's a good fit. I don't know whether you had that planned, like muscle fit tee. So
no, I'm extremely particular about shirts that I wear, and so we get samples in all the time, and I try them all on beforehand because if I won't wear the shirt, there's no point of going with it. And so we only get like super high quality shirts that I would only wear because like it has to be like a certain feel. Like I hate those like real rigid ones that like I just don't like the feel of those. Like that's why I like the Redcon ones is they're super form fitting,
similar to this.
Yes, very similar. Yep.
But anyway, we're not here to talk about shirts. We want to talk about business, and I guess the number one, it has been asked for. Number two, in the fucking intro, we're going to talk about business, and all we've talked about is supplements and TRT and whatever else. So I want to get into the business side of things. And then obviously your HQ is opening on Friday.
Yeah. So the TrustedSec Intergalactic Headquarters Syndicate is opening up Friday. Well, technically it's May 15th, but we're having a all hands Friday where everybody's flying in and all that good stuff. So really excited to see, the team.
Having a party?
We're definitely having a party. We got like
gonna have beers.
Oh yeah,
the Irish car bombs.
Probably Irish car bombs. Yeah,
I maybe will join you for a virtual like FaceTime Irish car bomb at some point.
I feel like you're like an introductory TrustedSec employee anyway.
I got the merch. So. You told me this was the employee only merch.
Yeah, that's right. It is an employee only merch. So, but we have like a murder mystery thing. We have a lot of cool events happening. Food trucks and everything else. So we're really excited because we got folks coming from the UK, Norway, Belgium. We have folks in every state pretty much coming through. So we have a lot of people coming to this, and I really appreciate being able to just be there with my friends and my peers and everybody else inside the company to kind of celebrate a really big milestone for us because a lot of people don't know the history of TrustedSec, but I left a perfectly stable, great job. I didn't take any venture capitalist funding. I didn't do anything, and I basically started TrustedSec in the basement of my house, and I had 6 months of mortgage payments basically in the bank, and that's it. And then anything past that, we were screwed. So I'm like, hey, I got to do something here, right? And I actually got to work my ass off to either go broke, file for bankruptcy, or try to find another job instead of doing this thing that I really wanted to do. And it was funny because I remember, when you do work, a lot of times you don't get paid up front. You get paid after the work is completed, and then you have to go through payment processes, and it takes time. And so like a net 30 is actually like a net 90, and all this other stuff. And I remember I was down to 1 month left in rent, or for my mortgage payment for my house, and I was like, oh shit, like I really need to get paid here, or I'm screwed. And eventually the money started coming in, and I was able to kind of, build up another base of that. And then I was able to finally hire a second person, third person, et cetera. Now we got like 140 employees. And so, it's one of those things that, took the risk, really stressful at first, still really stressful, but different. And just managing those different aspects of business was something that, one, I had never done before. One, I had no idea what the F I was doing. And three, it's just one of those things that just started to, build upon what you learn in real life, and having fun doing what you're doing and doing things the right way. It all kind of came together. Yeah, yes, I think HQ is really exciting.
Yeah, well, obviously, I don't want to rub it into everybody else, but I've been in it.
That's right.
But obviously, whenever you sent me the photo, like when the sign went up, to you at that moment, surely that's a like fuck yeah moment. Like that's a sort of core memory. Like I've done a fucking good job here.
Yeah. It's interesting. I've gotten asked a question like, why would you build an HQ in today's, society where, you have work from home, remote. The truth of the matter is, TrustedSec has always been work from home. We've never been at the office, and it's never been mandated to come into the office, or you have to come into the office to work. It's always been work from your home, work from wherever. But, one thing that we wanted to have was a place that showed our culture, showed our excellence, showed, our innovation and research, showed our gym, and showed who we were as a company, and have, people that want to come into the office every so often and just have a lot of fun with your friends and your peers. I mean, we have a great time at the office. I love hanging out with people. I love socializing. I love learning, what are, things are going on. I think you lose a lot of that in-person human skills. And it's funny because, I found myself with COVID, becoming more and more of an introvert than I was an extrovert, because I didn't have the human interaction skills. And believe me, Zoom isn't the same as an in-person, mannerisms, smell, taste, surroundings, environmental things.
The fact that you don't know if people are wearing trousers or not.
Right. So, I found myself actually getting nervous talking in front of people again and doing all these different things. And all of those things kind of compounded to I cannot wait to get back and work with people that I haven't seen in a year or 2 years. I can't wait to see all my folks again. And, again, not mandatory to come to the office, but we're going to have food trucks every week. We're going to have, a barber come in and do haircuts. We're going to keep it a fun place. We have nap rooms if you want to take naps. It's just a place that we want you to come to, work to, have fun. If you want to come into work or you want to stay from home, that's perfectly fine as well too. But, exhume our excellence as a company, I think, was really important for us.
Yeah, I heard you were going to have an international coach come in and train people in the gym.
I might have heard the same thing. It's so weird. And yeah, his name's Coach Tony.
Fuck Coach Tony. Right. So the thing for me, I to an extent understand, and I think probably my understanding of going into a workplace is obviously you build a lot of connections and friendships with people, and yes, it's not the same over Zoom, but it's like you go to that place and you have that social thing, and you build that sort of camaraderie, and again, it's a sort of tribe stuff that we do. So I think it'd be cool obviously to have that space and go in, and everything's sort of dealt differently, I would imagine. So I think it'd be cool for that. I guess, if we're going to talk about building businesses, I want to sort of talk about, you've just given a sort of brief history there, but almost like the origin story of how it came about, and sort of the good parts, the bad parts, sort of what it actually takes, and everything from that side. I can give my side to an extent, but obviously it's on a completely different scale.
Well, I mean, I think it's also important to understand how you scale too. I think the biggest thing that, being a business owner is all about is, one, not having an ego. That you're the sole person, the reason why that business is successful. Two, being able to get rid of your responsibilities so that you can explore and do other things that make that business successful. And then, number three is really finding people that you can trust, that have the same belief of your mission that you want to accomplish with your business, and surround yourself with those people. People always say, don't hire family, don't hire friends. Screw that, hire friends, hire family, because those are the folks that are going to be committed to you and what you want to accomplish, as well as you're invested in them to do amazing things, that it's just a recipe for success. So I think for me, when I first started TrustedSec, one, I had no idea how to start an LLC. I had no idea how to, have a MSA or a statement of work. I had to do all this from the ground up. I had to develop a website. I had to do all this. And so, it took some time to do a lot of the upfront work to get my business started. And then obviously when you first go off on your own, you have to start to, find customers and actually get your name out there and do work. And I was in a very fortunate position because I kind of established myself as somebody in the security industry that knew what they were talking about. At least I pretend to know what I'm talking about. And so, I had a good network of folks that, reach out to me because they wanted to work with me because I would do good quality work for them to help them out. And I think that having that network already pre-established and getting some initial work, and then from there, the word of mouth that starts to happen from there of you doing good quality work is a great thing. And I think whether you're an entrepreneur starting your own company, or if you're in an organization, I think, for me, the biggest piece of advice that I could ever say is that I always strive to be better at what I do, regardless of what it is, whether that's working out at the gym, whether that's making life better for my employees at my company. Just recently, during the holiday time frames, like we kind of have a chill environment where like you don't really have to come into work or do much work. We don't book a lot of things. And so around the holiday time frames, like around Christmas and things like that, it's just kind of like an unspoken rule, like, hey, do whatever, like chill out, relax, unwind. But I saw a tweet from an employee that was like, man, I'm really having a tough time unwinding. I feel like I need to keep working through this time. I'm like, well, crap, that's not what we want. So I saw that. I'm like, hey, by the way, everybody, effective immediately, the last 2 weeks of the Christmas time frame, we're just shutting down. Nothing. Don't do anything, period. Because, like, I want you to recharge. I want you to relax, And I remember someone had made a comment like, I never knew I needed this until Dave actually said something and did something, about it. And it's those types of things where you can make, improvements for your employees that, you don't have to do. I'm losing money, but that's fine. Like, because I'm doing the right thing for my employees, and who cares? 2 weeks, whatever, we bust our asses all year. 2 weeks is nothing in the grand scheme of things. And plus, obviously, people have PTO and, we give a lot of holidays off, extra holidays and things to that effect. But, again, doing the right things for people will make you successful. And I think in a non-entrepreneur spirit, surrounding yourself with people that have that same type of mindset of wanting the best thing for you and wanting the best thing for themselves makes a very good ecosystem for a tribe that is successful in whatever you're accomplishing.
Okay, so do you think the work ethic and the working hard and the wanting to be better is something that you personally have naturally, and do you think it's something that can sort of be taught within other people? Because I find, and I've always said this, I think for me, whenever I was younger, I always saw my mum work. She was always working. She was working in the restaurant. It was just me and her. I remember being in the restaurant from I was like 3. Literally, I was there the whole time, so she was always working. So I always saw her working. I was like, okay, well, that's what you do. So I feel like that's where I get my work ethic from. I started working probably illegally when I was like 10 or 11, like polishing cutlery and getting paid out the back. And I've always, no matter whether I've worked for myself or I've worked for someone else, no matter what I did, I always wanted to be the best. I laughed at, whenever I worked in the juice bar, I wanted to be the best fucking juice bar guy that there was.
Yeah.
And I just was doing that thing and wanted to be the best at it. I didn't mind doing, 60, 70, 80, 90 hour weeks. But now obviously I have the opportunity that if I do want to be the best, or I do want to put those hours in, I do it for me and the benefit of my company and not, working for someone else. So do you think do you think it's something that's in you or it's taught, or where do you think it comes from?
Well, let's talk about the pillars really quick of successful areas of fitness. What's the first one? Mindset, right?
Mindset. Yeah.
And I think mindset has everything to do with people's success in life. I wholeheartedly think that if you have a positive mindset, you have a positive outlook on humanity, you have a positive look of yourself and what you can be and what you can accomplish, and you have that drive and passion, you will be successful in life. I mean, positive energy creates positive energy. It's contagious, and people want to be around you, and from there, things happen, right? And I think for me, mindset was a big thing for me because I came from a very poor upbringing, where my parents, moved from job to job to job. We struggled with money all the time. I remember my mom going through pillowcases looking for change so that she could pay rent in the small, tiny condo that we lived in. I grew up in a very different lifestyle than I do today. And my kids, I really try to instill into them, listen, things are very different than it was back then. And you have to be very appreciative, and you have to bust your ass and work your ass off to get to this point. And I think to your point there, Ben, of always wanting to be the best at what you want to do, that's very much the same mindset that I had. And I think a lot of it is I was bullied a lot as a kid. I was picked on a lot. I was beat up a lot. I went to a lot of inner city schools. I was the Metallica / heavy metal person, which doesn't fit in well with that crowd, unfortunately.
Can I just point out something? Your May playlist is a bit of an odd one. I put it in the gym today. I was like, it kept going. I skipped 3 songs. I was like, what the fuck is this? It's not one genre. Let's say there's a lot going on.
Yes,
sorry,
there's a lot. Yes, there's a lot going on, and my music taste has definitely changed. A lot of rap. And so for me, I think I always had a negative perception of myself, and then when I joined the military, the Marines really instilled in me the ability to have confidence in myself, to say, hey, I can accomplish things, I can do things in a different way, especially put my mind to it. And here's the thing, like in cybersecurity, I look at some amazing folks that are just absolutely brilliant, and I don't look at myself in that same light. But one thing I do have is persistence, which is, if I don't understand something, I will sit there until I figure it out, until I learn it. I am continuously racking my brain trying to figure things out, almost to an obsession point, so that it can be perfect. It can be a way that I can do things, and that's the motivation aspects that I have of things. I don't learn things very well from picking up books. I do it by hands-on, actually. Figuring things out on my own, and that's always been very successful. I mean, I failed out of high school. I had to go to summer school just to pass. I'm not a typical person that came up through, Harvard or Yale and started my own business that way. I have no idea what the fuck that is, So, I didn't know what I was doing, and I kind of pieced things together because I have that mindset of I will be successful no matter what I do. And obviously, credit to Erin, my wife, incredible inspiration for me, supportive. She took where my faults are, she took the strengths. Where her faults are, I took the strengths. And that recipe there was such a recipe for success, because, the two of us just work with having a solid team was imperative, especially those early stages.
Okay. So I actually like the fact, you're saying about education, whatever, like I had to repeat a couple of years, dropped out before the end of school. And, at that point you think, or what everybody around you tells you it's the end of the world, you're never going to amount to anything. 95% of the people that I know that go through school and university are in jobs that they fucking hate because they picked what they were going to do when they were like 15 years old and they didn't have a fucking clue. So I think anybody who's in that sort of listening, like, I think it's evolved, and I don't know whether it's just the I'm going to say younger people and make myself sound old, but everybody wants to be a fucking entrepreneur. Everybody wants to start a business. I see it at the minute anyway. I think, what you're saying about being bullied, and I've thought about this quite a lot. So I listened to the Diary of a CEO podcast, and the guy Stephen Bartlett, and he always talks, or he always asks. He starts with like their childhood and their upbringing, and sort of like what was different or what made them sort of be the anomaly to have the success that they did and whatever else. And like obviously you're talking about being bullied and how you felt about yourself, and the one thing that sort of came back to me, as I said, it was always just me and my mum when I was younger. I didn't meet my dad until I was 19, and I always think that like my mum was absolutely incredible the whole time growing up. I couldn't have asked for any more, but there was always that like, I need to prove something, so I need to be good at this, or I need to make something of myself to prove that I'm worthy of X, Y, and Z based on not having that part of my life. And I think that's sort of where my want and continued wanting to progress and be better has come from. Yeah,
I think stories, like I always mention, like why I kind of homed down on you as a personal trainer, and I saw a lot of that same compassion, drive, and ability and care for one another, right? And I think that's a big part of it is wanting to better yourself, but also wanting to better the people around you. And I think that's a unique trait for a lot of folks. I think you run into a lot of executives or CEOs that are about themselves or just about the business and profitability margins and things of that effect, which I'm not saying, hey, businesses are obviously there to make a profit. That's capitalism 101. But, you look at what you're trying to accomplish. I mean, for me, I would easily take a hit on my profitability if it's the right thing to do for my employees. I would easily take a profitability hit if I'm improving quality of life. I would easily take a profitability hit for getting around, moving away from a cancerous type of customer that, is just toxic in nature and driving our people insane. You have to do those things because at the end of the day, your people make up your company, and your company is made up of amazing individuals that, if they're not working out, are you failing them? Are there ways for you to, make them better in some way, shape, or form? Do they not buy off in the mission of making the world a better place? All those things come into your head. But I think running a business is all about surrounding yourself with people that are smarter than you, that have amazing ideas in their retrospective areas, and that can continuously progress the company forward and making, the culture better, making the culture easier, making lives easier. For me, I have such an amazing leadership team over both at Binary and TrustedSec. And it's really cool because, I really don't have to make day-to-day decisions anymore at the company. It's a full-fledged, well-oiled machine, and we're continuously getting better with it, but it definitely wasn't always that way, right? And so, the flexibility that I have now, I definitely didn't have 2 years ago or 5 years ago. Those are maturity things that come over time, but, it's a lot of work up front, a lot of work still today. It's just different, right?
Yeah, I think, for me, and I even had a call with someone else earlier and, about a coach who's early on in their career. And I'm like, I remember being in the gym from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. every fucking day. Like, I didn't have any clients, but I was there just to be there, to be seen, to be talking to people, sitting on my laptop, writing programs, everything that sort of needed to have to go on in the background, because at the start you need to do all those things to be there. And I laughed, like, obviously I did, I'm a couple of hours coaching whenever I was over there. I was fucking exhausted doing that many hours coaching back to back. The thing that you're talking about, the employees, definitely, like, I obviously don't have any employees, but I see this in other businesses, and it tends to be that the really successful businesses are the ones that have the teams that will stick with them, and that they're the ones that sort of look after their staff, their employees, and whatever else. And it seems to be, again, from businesses that I know, the ones that struggle are the ones that have a high staff turnover, because by the time you get someone in and sort of get them into the environment and sort of teach them about the company, if they go again, then you're almost like resetting every single time. So, keeping employees within the company for as long as possible and making sure they're well looked after, I think is obviously a massive point, and something actually that I want to touch on. So obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, at the start, you did all the work in terms of building the brand based on your name. You went out and did the speaking, you did everything you needed to do, but obviously there becomes a point that you can't do that all the time, and it also needs to become about more than just you, and it needs to become about the team.
Yeah, and that's a big shifting point, and that's tough for a lot of people to do. If your whole brand and reputation is built off of one specific name, and you need to expand the business, like one thing that I noticed was that, I was traveling 80% a year, going out to speaking engagements and going out to customer sites and doing this and becoming the face of the company. And I was killing myself doing it. I mean, I didn't know what town or city I was in. I didn't know where I was flying to. I knew just every day I had somewhere else to be. Missed obviously a lot of time with my family. All of those things that start to come into play, and that's not a scalable effort. And what you have to do is, instead of it being about you, it's about your team and the quality of team that you've built, and getting their names out there, so that they can start to build their credibility and names. Because everybody a lot of folks are motivated by building a brand of themselves and helping out the community and industry, and all of those cool things that come along with that. And, want to contribute and make things better. And so, they should be getting their names out there. It shouldn't be Dave Kennedy's name out there. And so, I really took a step back of my name being out there as much, to let other folks take those reins and take the ropes and, get out there and do their thing that they wanted to do. So, for me, it was less for me of an ego thing. I don't care about my brand or, who people recognize me for. I'll continue to do good things. I'll continue to help others. I'll continue to share my knowledge. I'll continue to be passionate about what I do. But at the end of the day, for me, it was more so I didn't want the business to fail because my name wasn't all over the place anymore. And I didn't want to take a hit in revenue lines because I wasn't going out and speaking. And, I think COVID really put things in a major perspective for me, as I don't have to kill myself. I don't have to be out there destroying myself. I can still, reach others and do things in a positive manner that doesn't require me to be on site or to be away from my family. And, that was a big shift for me mentally, because I had to prove that my business wouldn't fail without me, essentially, right? And again, not an ego thing. It's more so of this is the way we've always done things. Now we need to do things differently. And that's one thing that I always think I've done really well is as soon as I have a good comfort level with somebody and I know that they're competent in a certain area, or they care as much as I do about a specific thing, they can own it, whatever that responsibility is, whether that's running my company, whether that's the finances. Well, I was never good at finance anyway. I was always Aaron. Whether that's, our consulting division with Martin, or whether that's, visionary stuff with our company with Elsie, those things are all things that I've given my responsibilities away from because they've proven themselves to be able to run those areas. And I don't care. I mean, that's less responsibility for me. Awesome. I can focus on other cool things to go and do. So I think, a good sign of a leader is the ability to empower your team to make decisions. And then you're there making sure that those are the good informed decisions and that you have good perspectives of everything. And you kind of pulse that to make sure everything's good. But at the end of the day, the decisions ultimately still reside with you and the direction of the company, but your folks and your team are the ones that are making those decisions. And you're just, saying, hey, this is a terrible decision. Hey, we're going to, instead of doing penetration testing, we're going to start making plastic boxes. Well, that's probably not a great idea. Like that's, we're known for penetration testing. We're not known for plastic boxes. So I don't agree with that. So explain to me why that's a good idea. Let's figure this out. And that's another thing too, that I'm really big on is, if I have a disagreement with something, it isn't my decision. I will listen to everybody that is there and understand their perspectives. And guess what? If I'm wrong or it isn't the greatest decision, I'm like, cool. My idea sucked. Let's go with yours. Let's do it. So, again, you have to take your ego out of the window. You have to be there. If you're teams, you have to be there with your troops, your friends, and you have to be there, consistently to make sure everything's going well, but empower them to be leaders too.
Okay. So I think obviously it gets to a point like you have this one thing that you in particular are really fucking good at, and you want to build a company that offers just more than that. So you start to get people in to do those other things, make sure they're on the same sort of level, potentially get people in who are better at the thing that you're good at, and that's how you build out a team. So talk to me then about when things really started to grow, like obviously you started hiring people, and then what way did that, what was the sort of trajectory from there?
Yeah, I think, when you hire your first employee, it's kind of like an oh shit moment because one, you have to figure out payroll, you have to figure out taxes around that.
You're responsible for someone else?
That's the last thing I was going to say is you're directly responsible for this person's well-being, right? And that's a lot of responsibility. So, the first employee that I hired was more of a technical person in nature that could do some of the easy work that I could do around, penetration testing or things to that effect. And so I would still write the reports. I would still do the sales. I would still make sure methodology right. We're doing things. I'd still release tools. I'd still do all the stuff that I'm doing. But I had a technical resource that could help me out. Then I hired a salesperson that can go out and do direct sales so that it takes the, statement of work writing away from me. So I'd have to focus on that, and I could be more outward facing in marketing for the company. And then, so the different people you add starts to chip away at your overloaded, nature, because you can't do everything perfect. You can't do sales well. You can't do, if you're jack of all trades and you're just the master of none, you're not going to be known as a company for being especially amazing at any of those different areas. So each person you add adds a different role within your company. And again, if you're not an entrepreneur, same thing goes for your teams. If you're investing in people and you're already overloaded with meetings and fires and things that are happening there, you have to take a look and say, what type of people can I add to remove some of these responsibilities from me to where I can focus on things that are actually proactive or strategic in nature in our security programs. And so I think, for me, it was always long-term vision of I need people that are awesome in here so that I can continuously start to build this out to be successful. And I always had, I think Aaron and I said, man, if we ever got to 30 people, we'd be good. Right. we'd be, that'd be amazing. And I think we'd be done by then. We need to go any further. Now we're like 140 people, right? And we're like, well, we got to 500, we get to 1,000.
But that's the same thing that we talk about in goals. Even you messaged me over the weekend about, where are we taking this in terms of physique? Yeah. And I'm like, well, we'll take it to this point, but when you get to that point, you're going to want some more, and that's how the goals always continue to evolve.
I love that discussion too this weekend because it's interesting. Weight is always context. Yeah. So
nobody else knows the conversation.
Weight has always been an issue with me. We've talked about this on the podcast before, where Big Dave was 315 pounds, and I never wanted to be Big Dave. And my weight, since I started training with you has been gradually and slowly ticking up, and as you add muscle mass, what we did is kind of combination of, resistance training and getting my weight down to an appropriate level, but also, with that comes building more and more muscle. And again, this is my objectives is to be, jacked AF and to be big and to have huge muscles, right? Speaking of that, I got a quick side tangent. We had to move our server infrastructure from the old TrustedSec headquarters to the new TrustedSec headquarters. And because I'm big, everybody assumes, oh, well, Dave's just going to handle carrying everything. I'm like, you a-holes. Like, it's still heavy for me. Like, it still hurts, to lift, 17 servers or 30 servers, going downstairs and everything. I'm exhausted. You guys can stop chatting and, drinking coffee and help me out with the carrying here. So, assholes. But
even, again, I want to point something out that, you are the owner, the CEO of the company, and you're the one in doing the moving the shit still. Like, that's still being on the ground floor doing shit. Like, I think that's...
Wouldn't have it any other way. Wouldn't have it any other way.
Employees will respect that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, whenever anybody needs my help or whenever we're doing big things, I love being there. Love helping out. Hopping in on an assessment or engagement. Like that's what helping others is what I like doing. And obviously, this is for my company, but that's fun to me. Like moving servers and redesigning our infrastructure, and architecture, and stuff like that. And we made a huge mistake in the new headquarters. We ordered four racks, and they're all telco racks instead of server racks. I'm like, oh, they're not long enough, so they're super short. So we get there, we're like, oh shit, so we had to go get quick some server racks. But dumb mistakes you make as you're going through things. But back on the conversation, I had a conversation with Ben over the weekend. I said, hey, I'm getting up into the high 230s. Like, when is a good weight? Like, is basically was my question, right?
Yeah, I think you said what was a good weight for my height? Like, what was a good weight for that?
And I liked your response back, and it was along the same lines of what I was thinking is, well, what's a good weight for you? And we don't know what that is. Like right now I could say, hey, I'm big, I feel good, and I want to maintain, right? And I maybe I want to lean out a little bit, or maybe I want to do this. I don't want to build as much muscle, and that's great. But for me, I want to be bigger, right? And that equates to if you add more muscle mass, you're going to keep going up in weight. And so there is no specific weight, and I like the check marks of monitoring, what is a good desirable weight, right? So right now my blood work is perfect. My cardiovascular health is fantastic, which I do have a really quick Orange Theory story. I was in Orange Theory today, and it was the 200-meter row, which is a really quick row. I mean, it's 30-second row. And I get on the rower, and they're water-based rowers. And I start rowing, and the whole rower is flipping upward. It's making these big banging sounds, and it's distracting everybody that's trying to PR on the side. I'm like, oh, shit. So the trainer runs over to me, and she jumps on the top of the rower so that it doesn't bounce anymore. I'm just ripping the seat. I'm doing 700 RPMs on this thing. It's just the thing's just I'm going to town, and I'm ripping so hard that I fly off of the seat, and I literally fall on the ground, and I'm just I'm such an idiot. I'm just trying to beat myself here. I'm not trying to be anybody else. So everybody's laughing, and then we had a second opportunity to go and do it. Well, you burn an insane amount of energy trying to rip through that. Even 30 seconds, it's exhausting. And I got on there a second time. She's on there, holding it down, and I beat my PR by 0.2 seconds. So I beat myself, and which is all that matters. Fucking beat you, old Dave.
Stayed on the second time.
And I stayed on the second time. God, I felt like such an idiot. But anyways, I think when you look at everything you're trying to accomplish in life, it's that motivation, being there and surrounding yourself with other people that makes a big difference. But the whole weight piece of it, I don't know where my boundaries are, right? I might go up to 250. I might go up to 270. I might go up to 300. I doubt it's going to be 300, but that's going to be a big boy.
300 would be big. That's very big. Very, very
That would be huge. Yeah. That would be that dude we saw at the gym that the other day, that big dude. He's got to be pushing 300. He was huge.
You'd be the guy that we'd be looking at. We'd be like,
yeah, I'd be like, oh my God, that guy's huge. Yeah. Guy's huge.
Yeah. So I don't know how we ended up down this rabbit hole about your weight, about the company, and about hiring people.
Well, I think it was more so about just everybody's
setting goals.
Yeah. Everybody's goals are different. Yeah.
Yeah, but obviously it's they evolve over time. Do you know what I mean? Like you said that you would want to get to 30 people, and now you're where you're at, but you want to continue to grow up. What age were you when you started the company?
So I would have been So TrustedSec was in 2011. And so let's see. I would have been 29 years old.
Interesting. So this is my thought behind that. So
Yeah.
I had this conversation with my friend Ali last week, and he started a business when he was young. And obviously, for anybody who doesn't know, the job that I had before, I was a coach. I was the juice guy that fucking wanted to be the best juice person ever on the planet. And I just fucking quit my job. Like I was in London. I remember quite clearly, walked out of Topshop, Oxford Street, looked across the street, and there's a homeless guy, and literally painted above the homeless guy in silver paint. I remember it so clearly. It said, "Quit your day job." Sent Gary, the owner of Slim's, an email, and I never went back. But my point is, I don't know now that I'm older, let's say, I would have the balls to just do it that way. And I think that in itself is why it worked out for me, if that makes sense. So the fact that I just quit and that was it, I had to make it work. Whereas now I probably wouldn't have the same, I wouldn't be as quick to just quit everything. It would be like, I'll try this on the side and try and build it. And then you're not as all in with it. So you don't have the same sort of, well, you don't have the same time, but you don't have the same sort of opportunity to build it and grow it.
I so agree with that. And I've said that to myself a number of times, like, what the hell was I thinking? Like, Aaron just had twins. Like, you literally were the financial support for your entire household. You had a perfectly good job that you enjoyed going to. Like, you know, like everything was great. And then you're like, hey,
I gotta push this big fucking red button and just fuck shit up.
Yeah. Like, what was I thinking then, you know, at 29 years old? But, you know, I think, you know, what I remember rationalizing this, which was, you know, I felt like I could get a job if I needed to very quickly based on my experience and everything else that was out there. Cybersecurity was a high, you know, it still is a high demand job. But I think at the end of the day, like, I knew I could bounce back if I needed to, but I knew that if I didn't do it sooner, I wouldn't actually go and do it, right? It would be one of those things where I had to force myself to believe in myself that we would be successful. And it's actually interesting, the conversation I had with Aaron when I came home, you know, when I broke the news that I wanted to quit. You know, and this is very much a discussion point. It wasn't, I'm going to do this. It was, listen,
you just didn't turn on, be like, I quit my job. Fuck this.
I quit my job, honey. I got to figure something out. No. You know, it was you know, it was like, hey, honey, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I want to do. Here's what I think is going to be successful. And you know what Aaron said back to me, and I still remember to this day. I remember the conversation. I remember where we were sitting. I remember the clothes we were wearing, you know, just as it was yesterday. And she says, you know, I know whatever you decide to invest your time into, you will be successful at. She's like, I fully believe in you, and I fully believe in your ability to do this, and I'm all on board. What can I do to help? And that was her reaction. It wasn't, oh my God, we have kids, we have this, we have that, you know, this. It was, you know, I trust Dave that he's making a good decision, that he wouldn't just put our family in jeopardy. You know, we have some money saved up in the bank. You know, we can make this work. And if it doesn't work, I know Dave will be able to get a job somewhere else to do something different. Right. So, you know, making that decision wasn't like a, well, fuck this, I'm done. You know, it was very well thought out. You know, I had been thinking about it for a while, how I'd be successful at it. And I made sure that, you know, when I left, I had customers lined up already, you know, so it was a calculated risk that I was attempting to do. And you know, it's all trial and error. Like, I've failed in multiple things. And actually, Morgan, my youngest daughter, she asked me yesterday, she's like, Dad, you know, what would you, if you go look back at your life, you know, what is one thing you would change? And I actually get this question quite a bit, you know, like, what's one thing you would change? And I wouldn't change a damn thing, because those experiences make me who I am today. You know, those experiences are why I'm in a position that I am today. And those failures are what I've learned from to be successful again in the future. And I explained to Morgan, I said, listen, you know, I think if my life was total shit, and I'd failed at everything I'd done, and I can look back and say, there's this one point here where I could have changed to make my life successful, that would be a different story. But I have an amazing family. I have great kids. I have a loving wife. I have an amazing, you know, set of businesses that are very successful. My health is at an all-time high at, you know, almost 40 years old. You know, what do I have to change? You know, I'm living the dream as far as I'm concerned. You know, my life is perfect. So, you know, I wouldn't change a damn thing. So I think that's the thing, you know, for me is drive yourself forward, knowing from the mistakes that you made in the past, and use those mistakes to empower you to be successful in the future. If you don't learn from your mistakes, you're just going to continue to make them.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I think I touched on this last week with Sean, but I always used to look back on being a pisshead and think, what the fuck was I thinking? Like so many years of my life, like just fucking drinking and being a fucking dickhead. And then it was only, I guess, probably within the past 4, 5, 6 months, like I did a post about it. I was like, I wouldn't change any of those things, because all of those things, all of those mistakes, even down to like, again, my friend Ali, like, I want to say business with inverted commas for anybody who's not watching. Like, one of the first businesses that I ran was providing transport to different clubs outside of Belfast. You basically pay me money, I give you a ticket, you got on a bus, went to your club, and everybody got fucking drunk. I made loads of fucking money in a very short space of time, but drank every single penny of it. Drank it, stupid t-shirts, going away on holiday, whatever. And he came to the end of the summer and he was like, that was, fucking, like, how much money do you have? And I was like £100. But I should have had, loads. He says, you need to save it, you need to save it. And I was like, in my head, I was like, no, I'll be fine. Like, I'll just do it again. It would always continue to be there. And obviously it wasn't. And then I found myself, I was like, okay, right, I need to fucking grow up here. But even that, that lesson that I carried into the business that I have now, and making sure that, understanding that there is the potential that it's not always going to be there and whatever else. But my point is the same as yours. Like, I wouldn't go back and change anything. Like, I wouldn't be this person without being a pisshead or a dickhead. And even down to something that Matt spoke about yesterday and on one of the stories about being able to have conversations with different types of people. So obviously, as a coach, I speak to a lot of different personality types. I don't think I would be able to understand people at the level that I do if I hadn't had so many interactions with people, albeit sober or not, but in other jobs or customer facing roles that I had to have conversations, or I was put in situations that I was talking to older people or foreign people or people from different backgrounds or whatever, different personality types. All those conversations, experiences, mistakes, lessons, everything led me to, be able to have this fucking conversation with you right now.
Yeah, it's so cool, dude. And I'll tell you, like, it comes through your personality of who you are as an individual. I mean, our life lessons forge us and shape us to who we are, right? And you always make the mention of, if you're the type of person that, every day is a negative, you let everything bother you, you're probably going to have bad results in life, right? And that's just how it is, unfortunately. And I'm not saying, by the way, a lot of people struggle with depression. A lot of people struggle with, various ailments in their health, and things aren't always perfect in any way. And please don't think that I'm diminishing that in any way, shape, or form. I'm not. People struggle with a lot of things in life, but if your outlook on life is continuously negative, that impacts your mental health, that impacts your physical health and drive. It impacts everything that we talk about here on the podcast. So if your mind isn't right, your body's not going to be right either. And if your body's not right, your mind isn't going to be right either. So it's a reciprocal effect of what you're doing. And it's actually interesting. I had a friend come from Argentina just this week, and he'd never been to the United States before. And he comes over and he's like, man, I've never seen so many overweight people in my entire life. Like, cause they're not used to that in Argentina. I mean, I'm sure there's, overweight folks, but he's like, I mean, like, literally a large percentage of your population is not healthy. And I said, yeah, you're right. Like, we have access to high calorie foods, that are super cheap. Health is,
and you don't even need to go anywhere. They come to you.
It comes to you. Like, I mean, it's amazing how, like, we used to have to forage and fight for our food and get our food, and literally we're never hungry, as a society. And so, it's interesting because if we're not a healthy country, our minds aren't going to be healthy either. How do we expect to be the best at what we do in the world? And so, it's those things that I look at and say, well, how could I be positive to others and influence others to be positive? Obviously, the podcast is part of that. But again, that's one thing I want to circle back to you of, every time I talk to you, it's positive, right? Every time we have a discussion, it's positive. Every time we interact with one another, it's positive. It's all positive, right? And you want to surround yourself with those types of people. If the people that you're with from a group team perspective are all negative people, everything you do is going to be negative. You're not going to be successful at what you do. So for me, in the business side, I surrounded myself with very positive people that have made me successful. I've made them successful. Take care of them. They take care of me. It all works out. It's that whole tribe, aspect of things of for working for one goal of survival and making each other better and having a dependency on each other to want to do that.
I think that there's one thing that I've noticed recently, obviously working with more and more of you guys over in America, there's a definite difference, cultural difference between here and there, in the fact that you, as an American, if you have something good and it's better in the quality of your life, you want to fucking share it with as many people around you as possible.
Yeah.
You want to be like, look, I have this thing, it's great, it's making me better, it will make you better. Over here, it's not like that. And I don't know whether it's just my experience, and maybe it is, but over here, it's like, if somebody has something good, they will keep it to themselves because they're like, I've got one up on that other person because I have this and they don't. So it's a total different, it's just something that I realized, like, you know, you being able to refer and whatever, like a lot of people over here wouldn't do that because they don't want people around them to have the same. Not everybody. And the other thing that I would like to say on the positivity, because I feel like I absolutely agree. You know, we have positive conversations, we have created a positive environment. But I sometimes think the people that aren't always in that mindset see it as so far away and they don't understand how they can get there. And the greatest thing that I think that I can give back to anybody is, you know, it's not always everything that's happening is positive. It's how you look at it, and it's how your perspective is on it. So, you know, even a client in their check-in might be having a shit time or whatever it is. My job as a coach is to give them a perspective that sort of sees the positives in it. And, you know, it might not necessarily be anything to do with training. It could be a total shit show and their mind's all over the place. It's my job to look at that and give them the perspective so that they feel better going away. And that was one thing that I learned quite early on the gym floor. It wasn't necessarily about the session. It wasn't about, you know, the way the session was programmed. It wasn't about the weights that they lifted. It was about the client coming in and leaving in a better mood than they arrived in. And that was literally my job in that hour, because, you know, they used to come up a lift in the gym, end of work, potentially had a shit day, you know, whatever it was, cut off in traffic. Like, it's my job to make them leave in a better mood. And that is the same sort of thing that I try and do, just give them perspective or whatever it is. And I think that, you know, it's not that everything is always positive. It's about looking at it from a perspective.
Yeah, and it has to be, right? I mean, that's my main priority. So, I talk about the politics thing. I don't watch the news. I don't watch, negative. And I'm not saying ignore what's happening.
We're not talking about the news, but Elon Musk bought Twitter. What the fuck?
Right? He's like, hey, I'm going to go buy Twitter one day, and, hey, I'm going to do this, whatever, right? But it's one of those things where, I think, the surrounding things around you, things that you can't control, are the things that people most worry about. And that's actually ingrained in our DNA of how we've been upbringing. Like, we've always had threats. We've had tigers and bears that want to kill us, and we have to be in a tribe to, be able to survive them. We're not the strongest. We're not the fastest, but we are smarter. So, the ability to be in a tribe helps us with that. So we've always had stressors, and we interpret different things different ways as stressors in our lives, whether that's financial debt, whether that's, our job, that's stressing us out, whether that's family members, a death, stress hits us in a lot of different ways. And as Ben was saying, it's not about ignoring those stressors. It's about having a positive outlook on life, that this one stressor in the grand scheme of things isn't the downfall of my family. It's not the downfall of my, all the work that I've been doing. It's not the downfall of me as a human being. I'm still me. And we have to have perspective of that. So, for me, it's trying to create as much positivity as possible for others, which is contagious. And I'm positive, when people are laughing around having a good time, when my kids are laughing around having a good time, that's the best day. Like, just the other day, I walked past Gavin's computer and I noticed he was only getting like 50 frames per second, which, for me is unacceptable from a computer perspective. So,
not in my house,
not in my house. We're not having 50 frames per second. What are we in the early 2020s here? So he's playing Fortnite. I'm like, why you got 50 frames per second? I'm like, Gavin, like, get out of there. Like, let me hop in there. And I spent 2 hours rebuilding his machine, trying to figure out why. And it was like a internal graphic driver issue that was conflicting with the eGPU. Anyways, so I ended up fixing it, and he's back up to 120 frames per second. I have him on a higher graphics settings. He's like, Dad, this is amazing. It's like I have a brand new computer and I'm doing this, and I'm like, that's awesome. And then the rest of the day, he's happy, I'm happy. I fixed something. He was, he's killing more people on Fortnite. So, it's
everybody's happy.
Yeah, but as it's going on, my son's, sitting there with me, and he's like, it's like, oh, maybe it's this. I'm like, no, but here's what's actually going on. And I'm trying to explain things to him. He's like, yeah, I don't understand any of that. I'm like, well, you will someday. And then, so, it was just, the positivity there and just wanting to help out, not family members and everybody else, but it's just an awesome thing. So I guess the moral of the story and wrapping things up here is, from a business perspective, if you're a positive leader, positive things will happen. Right? You will be successful in what you do, whether that's meeting with customers and you're positive. And that's the same thing. When we have to go into customers and deliver just a total horrible report that's like, hey, we destroyed you in 6 ways to Sunday and you have all these exposures. We go in, we're like, hey, you did these 2 things really well, but all these other things, hey,
but give it a shit sandwich.
Yeah. But here's where you can improve. Here's where we prioritize. We're here to help you. So, again, helping others is a big thing. Prioritizing, you can't boil the ocean and do things, everything at once. You just can't do it. And so prioritizing what's important to you and just being a positive influence on others will make you successful in any career that you're in. Your work, your fitness, your mind, everything else comes along with it. I love it.
Yeah, I think the main thing that come from me is, surround yourself by the right people, do the things that are going to make you better every day, and just fucking work hard at it.
Yeah, work hard at it. Yep.
Yeah.
Stop being lazy.
Yeah. Anything else? Good. Check us out. We Hack Health on all social media platforms. Check out the giveaway, which will be on Twitter. I'll make sure I have it done, the Blue Nutrition stuff. And I guess I'll catch you next week.
Next week, guess what? I'll be stronger than I was today.
Yeah. Same.
Can't wait.
I'll be 1 rep stronger than you.
See you later. Bye.